But I know things were looking pretty good when we've got kind of a trailing particle effect, and we can slash
Well,
smash into
I got
walls and
some news
stuff.
for you. Things are going to look better, and they're going to be easier.
Oh, sweet.
So last week, I alluded to the idea that we could use somebody else's library to do the particles instead of doing it ourselves. So I took some time this week to check the status, so to speak, of CBEffects, which is by Caleb, and I don't remember his last name, but first name Caleb. Now he's been working on this for, I don't know, 2-3 years now, and I saw one of the first versions of it, and it was good then, but it was going through some sort of like iterative changes. So I put it down, kind of kept my eye on it, and then came back to it every once in a while. And I have to say that I came back to it this week, and I was very happily surprised. Not really surprised, but just happy to see that it is very solid, very, very easy to use, and there's really not much more you can say about it. What I did is I went and downloaded it here. You can see here on the screen, first of all, that why am I talking about this? I'm talking about this because I want to replace, in the game that we're developing, my particle system, which is ugly and messy, with about 3 lines of code from his that'll do the same job. So first step for me was to go to the GitHub and get the latest version, which I will provide a link to you, Charles, so we can do so in the show. And I downloaded it, and then I ran it. And as you can see here on the screen, I'm running it. I've got just a black window, screen, whatever. And if I tap, I get some particles. Now, the demo that comes with this is every time you reload the app, you get a different sample. He has 27 samples that come with the kit to show you how to use it. Users, be warned, there is some documentation. There is a reference HTML file in the root directory, which then brings you to a file or a screen that looks like this. It is only a parameters reference, which is very useful, but he doesn't, as far as I know, have a function call reference. So you're going to have to go and look at the actual examples and see what he did. However, once you get the hang of finding where the sample code is, which is pretty straightforward, reading the code is also quite straightforward, and using it is very simple. So just having the parameter reference is enough once you get rolling, because mostly you're going to be saying, oh, I'll take this example, but I'll change the gravity, or I'll change the velocity of the vent, or change the angle of ejection, or I'll use a different particle. And so these parameters here all address those questions, and there's like 3 or 4 functions you've got to use, and you're done. So as I said, in his sample here, every time you reload it, you get a different example, which is fine. But I wanted to explore this in a sort of more direct route. I wanted to look at every one and not have to continually reload. So initially, I just hand-coded to go to sample 1, sample 2, and finally I said, heck with this, and I dropped in some code, which I'm going to provide in the show, and I'm going to contact Caleb and see if he will put it in his sample. So maybe in the future, when you get this from his repository, it will look like this instead. So then when you load it, it will come up with a screen that, if I were viewing on the proper, let's look at, probably best to look at this on an iPad simulator. It will show all of the different samples listed in columns, and then you can choose one. So for example, the basic vent, and it will run that example and tell you where it's located, and run the example. So I'm almost done with this, and we'll get into the game development. So as I was going through here, and I finally got this organized in a way that I could approach it, I looked at them one by one. Basic vent, load presets, hello world, one of my favorite ones, which was the mortar explosion. Really, I don't know why I enjoy that so much. But then it struck me, I said, wait a minute, what about that load preset one? Load preset is a special example in his kit, which actually has a bunch of sub-examples. So what he's done is he has set up preset definitions for a whole bunch of different vents. And this sample loads the burn preset. which is what we're seeing here. So it looks like a candle wick, or maybe a torch or something like that. And I thought, wow, this looks a lot like what we're trying to achieve in the game. So I took it apart, I found the preset, and I made a copy of it, and I simply modified some parameters until I got something that looked like what I wanted. And I'll show that to you as we do the game development. So I just want to leave off on this, that I will share a link so people can get the modified menu for loading to make it easier to review his examples and look at specific ones. But other than that, I would strongly suggest that people dig in and grab this, because it's robust and easy, super, super simple to use, easy to understand, and it's got reasonable documentation, much better than it had when I first started using it. That is very straightforward and easy to understand.
What was the particle library that was being used before?
Ed's particle library just made up nonsense, which I'm going to show you real briefly, so you can appreciate the difference in complexity of using what I was doing versus 3 lines of code from him and a copied preset with some modifications. So I'm going to try to switch screens here, and let me know if you can still see my camera. Can you still see me?
I cannot see you, no. You can see the desktop.
Yeah, my desktop, is it still there?
Yes.
Okay, good. Let me bring the Hangout over to my... I have a multi-desktop system here, and it's sometimes a little bit confusing. Sorry, I lost it. Let's try that again.
About CBEffects, I guess many people wonder if it's using built-in particle emitters in Corona core, but it does not use them. So it's, so to say, bare-bone particle effects.
You're correct. It does not use the built-in particle emitter or particle, whatever it is. What's the class called, or the?
New emitter.
Yeah. I'm going to look it up in the docs now. So what we're talking about here is the emitter object, which you can find in the APIs. Now, it's not. You're correct. And actually, I considered using that first before I wrote my own. But the emitter object is not suitable for what we're trying to achieve, because it looks nice as long as the emitter is not moving. But if you move the emitter itself moves, and all of the particles move with it. And so what I'm trying to achieve is particles that are affected by gravity on their own and are no longer attached to the vent once they get ejected. So thus far, I have not been able to find a way, and I could be wrong about this, to produce particles that are emitted from an emitter object that once the particle is emitted, it's no longer tied to the vent. So moving the vent will not move the particle also. Am I being clear?
Yeah, I understand what you're talking about.
All right. So